Chapter 21. The war is over. The Hokage building under the Shadow Rock. The third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, advisors Udatane Kaharu, Mitokado Homura, and root leader Shimura Danzo gathered here. The consultant turned to bed. Udatane Kaharu looked at the beautiful sunset outside the window, and sighed with a relaxed expression. It can be seen that she is in a good mood. After a brief silence fell in the conference room, another consultant, Mitokado Homura said, although the war is over, there are still problems that need to be resolved as soon as possible. In addition, Jiraiya has not returned yet. Hiruzen, after the war Konoha at a critical moment where all things are waiting to be completed. As a top ninja of the village, Jiraiya should not be impulsive at this time. It can be heard Mitokado Homura is dissatisfied with Jiraiya. At the end of the Rain Country War, Orochimaru, Jiraiya, and Tsunade were given the title of Konoha Xining by Hanzo, the leader of Rain Village, who was respected in the ninja world. However, only Orochimaru and Tsunade came back, and Jiraiya is still staying in the Land of Rain because he took in 3 orphans from the Land of Rain. Udatane Kaharu also turned his head and continued, yes, Hiruzen is Konoha's Jonin. He ignored the order and took in orphans in the Rain country, and he didn't return to the village for a long time. This has seriously violated the rules of the village. For such a ninja who seriously violates the village rules, it is reasonable to try to dissuade them. If they really don't listen to the advice, they will be defined as rebellion and taken back to Konoha prison, or killed. Otherwise, if such ninjas are allowed to mess around, the rules of the village will lose their credibility. But at this moment, Konoha did not send ninjas to dissuade Jiraiya, but he did not release the news that Jiraiya had become a traitor. As a disciple of Hokage, the arrest order can only be issued by Hokage. Hokage Hiruzen shook the pipe in his hand, and said with a smile, don't worry, Jiraiya is also an excellent ninja who has inherited the will of fire. He knows the seriousness. Udatane Kaharu and Mitokado Homura frowned, they were not convinced by Hiruzen's words. Hiruzen said again, Jiraiya also wrote me a letter before, he said that this would ease the relationship between Konoha and Rain Village, and it will also do Hanzo a favor. After hearing this, Mitokado Homura sounded even more dissatisfied. He knew that it was Hiruzen who couldn't bear to punish his disciple and excused him. Hiruzen, you have indulged your subordinates too much, and you have said that this is not the time to be arrogant. He is a Konoha ninja, not a Rain ninja. Although Konoha was the final victor in this Rain country war, the process of victory was not all smooth sailing. The most critical point, Konoha defeated Rain, but did not defeat the leader of Rain, Hanzo. It is said that in the final battle of the War of the Rain country, hundreds of Konoha ninjas who followed Orochimaru and Hanzo were all killed. In the end, only Orochimaru was spared by Hanzo and was given the title of Konoha Xining. Now the hatred between Konoha and Rain can be said to be very large. If Hanzo didn't appreciate it, or if he was more cautious and killed Jiraiya directly, Konoha would not be able to defend Jiraiya. Hanzo only needs to place a charge of stealing important information from other countries on Jiraiya's head, and tell the ninja world. I believe that other ninja villages are happy to see Konoha deflated and support Hanzo, but Konoha is not human inside and out. If something goes wrong, I, Hokage, will take responsibility. Hiruzen said this, which directly put an end to Mitokado Homura and Udatane Kaharu talk of punishment for Jiraiya. Danzo, what do you think of this kind of thing? Mitokado Homura didn't believe that Hiruzen could take on such a responsibility, but he was just favoring his disciples. So he turned his attention to the root leader Danzo. After the other party came in, he didn't open his mouth to express his opinion, and sat quietly by the side, but Udatane Kaharu and Mitokado Homura had to ask for Danzo's suggestion. Didn't Hiruzen say that, once something happens to Jiraiya, he will be responsible? He is Konoha's Hokage. In addition, there is still something to do with Root, so I will go back first. Danzo stood up from his seat and walked towards the meeting room, not wanting to stay here any longer. Even he couldn't change what Hiruzen decided. This is the power of Hokage. Anyway, there is something wrong with Jiraiya, and it has nothing to do with his roots. If there is a problem with Jiraiya, he can also be open and above board, so why not do it? Udatane Kaharu and Mitokado Homura looked at each other, they didn't expect Danzo to leave so simply. Since Danzo doesn't object, then Jiraiya's matter will be like this. Regarding the training of medical ninjas, you should also pay more attention to the cultivation of medical ninjas. Konoha is in urgent need of excellent medical ninjas like Tsunade. Seeing that there was nothing to do, Mitokado Homura and Udatane Kaharu also followed Danzo's pace and went out. Before leaving, they let Hiruzen pay attention to the training of medical ninjas. Hiruzen shook his head, these 3 guys always wanted to grab his braid. But thinking of Jiraiya's stay in the Land of Rain this time and taking in orphans, in his opinion, it is too reckless and it really doesn't look like a ninja. Guilty, or there are other reasons, Hiruzen does not know. But if you really use strong means to force Jiraiya to come back, maybe some unpleasant things will happen. As long as it can be used at critical moments, Hiruzen has no choice but to turn a blind eye to this disciple who is often out of tune, and write a letter asking Jiraiya to prioritize his own safety, so that he can ignore the 3 Rain Country orphans in case of danger. The next step is the most important question. Cultivation of medical ninjas. Limit root growth. These 2 things are the headaches for Hiruzen. Especially the latter, Roots, as a branch of Anbu, has now completely become the personal organization of the high-level Elder Danzo, and even he cannot get involved, and it is becoming more and more mysterious. The original intention of establishing the Root was also to consider some shady tasks, which could not be handled in the name of Hokage directly under Anbu, so Root was differentiated in Anbu, controlled by Danzo. Unexpectedly, it has developed to this day, the Roots are dormant in the depths, and the secrecy is more than Hokage's direct subordinate Anbu. The ninjas there have also lost their feelings and been completely reduced to Danzo's personal armed organization. Therefore, balance is needed. How can we balance the situation of all parties in the village? Hiruzen fell into deep thought. When the war comes, everyone temporarily abandoned their prejudices and agrees with the outside world. After the war, the real tediousness begins. The next day, ninja school, the first medical ninja experimental class. The one who came here for class today was not a medical ninja from Anbu, but a female ninja with a rather strange appearance. She was wearing Konoha Jonin's standard uniform, with light golden twin ponytails tied behind her head, giving off a heroic look. I am Senju Tsunade, I will teach you medical ninjutsu from today onwards. As soon as she walked to the front podium, she introduced herself to all the students in the classroom. The people below were whispering, and they were not particularly unfamiliar with Tsunade. Tsundere is one of the most popular Jonin now, the granddaughter of the first Hokage, the disciple of the third Hokage, and the best medical Jonin in the village. She achieved impressive results in the Land of Rain War, and was bestowed the title of Sannin by Hanzo, the leader of Hidden Rain Village. I just didn't expect that the other party would replace the original Anbu Jonin, who was good at medical ninjutsu, as their new teacher. However, this only aroused some curiosity and excitement among the students. Compared with the mysterious Onbi Jonin who wears an animal mask all day long, a young and beautiful female Jonin with ample bosom. Tsunade is simply a dream teacher. For example, when they are in class, they can watch wonderful balls for free. Shiraishi was sitting in the corner of the classroom, also watching big balls in the dark. Ahem, carefully observing Tsunade's every move. As expected of Jonin, the granddaughter of the first Hokage, there is no flaw in her gestures. It seems that the gap between myself and Jonin is still very large. Shiraishi seems to gain a more intuitive understanding of what it means to be a Jonin. When Shiraishi came out of class, Ruri was waiting for him outside. It was already 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and the sun was slowly sinking to the west, printing a beautiful sunset in the distance. Tsunade walked out of the classroom with the textbook in her hands, and was slightly taken aback when she saw Shiraishi and Ruri. Of course, what she paid attention to was not Shiraishi, an ordinary student, but Ruri. The Uchiha fan logo on other party clothes is too conspicuous, allowing Tsunade to immediately see that Ruri is from the Uchiha clan. Who are you? Tsunade seemed interested. The Uchiha ninja, waiting for someone here, is still common. Before taking over this class, Tsunade had read the profiles of everyone in Shiraishi's class. Even before she came to this class for the first time, she searched out the basic information of Shiraishi. Civilian, both parents died. These two have an affair. Master Tsunade, I am Uchiha Ruri. Facing the name Tsunade a Jonin, Ruri behaved neither humble nor overbearing. Jonin is nothing more than strength and identity that she will gain sooner or later. Moreover, Tsunade's identity is too sensitive. The direct princess of the Senju clan is, to a certain extent, the sworn enemy of Uchiha, which Ruri belongs to. If the other party wants to make things difficult for her, she will never sit here and wait for death. Tsunade just nodded, and didn't say much, and didn't make things difficult for Ruri, a junior, even though she was born in Uchiha. After asking Ruri's name, Tsunade left the corridor directly. Why is Junin Tsunade here? Ruri asked Shiraishi, wondering why a Jonin like Tsunade would appear here. The previous teacher has changed, and now Tsunade-sensei is in charge of teaching the students of the first experimental class to learn medical ninjutsu. Shiraishi said lightly. Well, it seems that the village really spares no effort in cultivating medical ninjas. Yeah, when I knew about it before, I was also flattered. Looking at the smile on Shiraishi's face, Ruri was a little speechless. Why didn't she see how flattered this guy was? Men are hypocrites. Chapter 22. Going back to the office, Tsunade casually picked up the materials left by a teacher in the first experimental class. It recorded the detailed information of more than 30 students in the experimental class, including Shiraishi's. Chiba Shiroishi, excellent in theoretical knowledge, moderate in ninjutsu and shuriken. Even if you join the first medical ninja experimental class, you can only do the theory. As for the practical ability, it is not bad, nor good. How to describe it? Solid. Yes, it is solid. The foundation is very solid, but subject to talent, it is too conformist. With a serious personality, he is limited by his talent, and his ultimate achievement can only be a chunin who is good at medical ninjutsu. You don't need to pay too much attention to him, because he can learn by himself and he is the most conscientious and diligent student in the class. But if you devote all your energy to him, he, who is not talented, will not become outstanding because of elite education. So, neither can expect him, but he will not disappoint. This is the sharp evaluation of Shiraishi on the materials that the Anbu medical ninja teacher left and handed over to Tsunade. Tsunade originally thought that Shiraishi would have something unusual, that he had contacts with the Uchiha clansmen, but now it seems that there is nothing outstanding. It seems that I am overthinking. How much ability can a kid have? The friendship between children is really pure. Tsunade entered the ninja academy to teach medical ninjutsu, which did not cause any uproar. After all, she is in charge of the number 1 medical ninja experimental class, the only class that trains medical ninjas, and the teaching time is only 2 hours after school every day. Tsunade's teaching is much better than that of Onbi Jonin who left, and even Shiraishi has been inspired a lot by it. Perhaps at the comprehensive level of medical skills, regardless of the chakra component, Shiraishi does not think he will be too much behind against Tsunade, but the profession of medical ninja cannot do without dealing with chakra, and this is why Shiraishi believes that there is such a big gap between himself and Tsunade. Ninjas are ninjas after all, and medical ninjas are also ninjas. What I want to learn is not the basic knowledge, but the further expansion of the field of chakra and medical ninjutsu. This is exactly what he can't do by himself. He can learn medical ninjutsu by himself, and he can use it in a regular manner, but what to do next, how to further improve medical ninjutsu, this needs to be thought about and explored by himself. Tsunade's arrival undoubtedly solved the doubts accumulated in Shiraishi's heart for many years. So Tsunade has Shiraishi respect. This is a medical ninja who is an expert in the medical field. Konoha's strongest medical ninja is not an exaggeration. Therefore, Shiraishi will not be late or leave early for each of Tsunade's classes, and listens very carefully. When I get out of class, I occasionally come to the office to ask Tsunade some difficult questions. For this kind of thing, Tsunade is naturally willing to teach it. Such a studious student is rare in school. After class, the first thing other students in the experimental class thought of was to play and go home instead of asking questions. If it wasn't for Shiraishi's talent being too mediocre, Tsunade would have planned to take on apprentices. Diligent, eager to learn, is simply the template of a perfect student. Unfortunately, accepting apprentices is not such a casual thing. Shiraishi called her a teacher, not the kind of teacher who passed on the line, but just admiration for a pioneer. Tsunade can tell the difference. It's just a pity for such a hard-working student. Neither can have too high expectations for him, but he will not disappoint. Tsunade thinks this comment is really suitable for Shiraishi. On this day, after school, Shiraishi was the first to come to the experimental class, waiting for Tsunade to come to class. Student, you are. After Shiraishi came to the classroom, he saw that someone had already stepped in first, sitting on the chair belonging to Tsunade in front of the podium. Shiraishi clearly remembered the faces and names of all the students in the experimental class, but there was absolutely no one in front of him. He is not very old, slightly older than himself, but he already wears Konoha's ninja headpiece on his forehead, and he is an official ninja. My name is Senju Naoki. Nice to meet you. The other party had a cheerful smile on his face and took the initiative to introduce himself. Senju. Shiraishi's heart fluctuated. This is the surname of the first Hokage. Members of the Senju clan, are you here to find Tsunade-sensei? While guessing in his heart, Shiraishi smiled at Naoki. Chiba Shiroishi, please give me more advice, Naoki-senpai. I know you. Senju Naoki suddenly said something. You have a good relationship with Uchiha Ruri, right? She is the most outstanding genius of this generation of the Uchiha family, and the opponent I most want to defeat. Although he said so, Naoki didn't have any pride on his face, and his smile was still sunny and confident, as if he would definitely win. Ah, really? Shiraishi was a little confused. Don't worry, it's just a simple competition. But I will finish this competition after she graduates and becomes a ninja. Please tell her this for me. Oh well. Sure enough, the other party didn't pay attention to himself at all. As a genius, that girl Ruri is indeed a bit too much and eye-catching. After all, I am so ordinary, and my strength is probably a little stronger than this senior Naoki. Just as Naoki continued to say something, the door of the classroom was opened again. The person who entered was Tsunade. Big sister. When Naoki saw Tsunade, he immediately threw himself into Tsunade's arms, like a child who hasn't grown up. Shiraishi witnessed the scene of the crime committed by Naoki. I'm really envious of Naoki-senpai. I am even more envious of Naoki-senpai having such a loving sister. But Naoki is Tsunade's younger brother, which Shiraishi didn't expect. Good afternoon, Tsunade-sensei. Shiraishi came over, smiled and bowed, saying hello. It's you, Shiraishi, you come here early every day. Tsunade responded to Shiraishi, then pushed Naoki out of his arms helplessly, and taught him a lesson. Really, Naoki, you are already a ninja, don't always rely on your sister. What's the matter? It's been 3 years since my sister went to the front line. Naoki started committing crimes again. Okay, I get it, you're really being troublesome now. Hurry up, I will have a class here soon. Where is Orochimaru? How did he discipline you as a disciple? Tsunade's face became unhappy, and her fists were crackling. This has nothing to do with Orochimaru-sensei. Then, sister, I'll go first. By the way, remember not to secretly drink and do not play during class, and you are not allowed to gamble with students. Naoki, you brat, I'm also a jonin in the village after all, how could I do such a thing? Tsunade's face turned red with anger and almost jumped up, especially in front of his students. This guy, Naoki, is getting childish and childish. After Naoki left, Shiraishi stood there with an embarrassed expression on his face. I seem to have heard something terrible from Mr. Naoki. Tsunade-sensei won't destroy flowers with his hands, right? What kind of flower? Don't be so stinky, you are obviously a weed. This is too much. Listen well, if you dare to spread the word, my fist will lightly hit your house. Do you understand? Tsunade looked over with threatening eyes. I see, Tsunade-sensei has an excellent character, is gentle and amiable, so she won't drink and play crazy, she won't go to gambling, and she won't use violence against students for no reason. There is no doubt that Tsunade-sensei is the best junin in the village. Seeing Tsunade's friendly expression, Shiraishi nodded in understanding. Tsunade was very satisfied with Shiraishi's attitude of knowing current affairs, and withdrew her fist. Shiraishi sighed, woman, what a terrifying creature. If he dared to say a word just now, his home would definitely be demolished by Tsunade. Anyway, there are horror legends about Tsunade in the Konoha bathhouse, which have been going on for a long time. The last person who suffered a lot seems to be Jiraiya Jonin, who is also a Sanin. However, his house was not demolished by Tsunade, but his whole body was demolished, and he was sent to the hospital for emergency treatment, only to save his life. Weird female Tyrannosaurus. Tsunade-sensei is so scary, you must not have a boyfriend. What did you say? Tsunade's eyes suddenly became terrifying. No, I mean Tsunade-sensei is so good, there must be no man in the village worthy of you. Shiraishi immediately changed his tune. I'm sorry, I have a boyfriend, and he is very good, and he will become Hokage sooner or later. Speaking of this, Tsunade's eyes were full of tenderness. Shiraishi was stunned. Chapter 23. The next day, outdoor class. Senju Naoki. Hearing this familiar yet unfamiliar name from Shiraishi, Ruri frowned. Yeah, before the experimental class started yesterday afternoon, I ran into him, and he seemed very interested in defeating you. Shiraishi watched Ruri's facial expression with great interest to see how she reacted. Unfortunately, Shiraishi was disappointed. Ruri just nodded lightly. There are too many people who want to challenge her, and he is just a ninja of the Senju clan. But the other party is also the grandson of the first generation of Hokage, so he should have some skills. What about his strength? Maybe a little weaker than me. That is indeed a challenger worthy of my expectations. Ruri, who knew Shiraishi's full strength, lowered Naoki's level a little bit. Although it was impossible to defeat him, it should be able to make her a little happier. However, I heard from Naoki-senpai that his teacher, Orochimaru, who just returned to the village, is said to be a genius ninja that has been born for decades. It is better to be careful. Don't worry, the Jonin who taught me is a very prestigious elder in the Uchiha clan. Although he has retired, his experience and understanding of ninjutsu are comparable to only 3 generations of Hokage in Konoha Village. What's more, I still have Sharingan in your scientific training method. Give me another 2 years, and I can pester even Jonin. Ruri said confidently. She is only in the 4th grade now, and there are still 2 school years before graduation. She has enough time to promote her own growth. Senju Naoki's contacts and resources are good, but the treatment she enjoys in the Uchiha clan may not be worse than the other party. Uchiha has no shortage of strong Jonin. I just want to remind you a little bit, I have full confidence in you. After all, no one knows if there will be any accidents with Naoki-senpai in 2 years. Just after the war is over, it is still a bit dangerous to go outside to perform missions. Shiraishi is not cursing Naoki, but just after the war, it may be more dangerous than during the war. It is. More dangerous to perform missions outside, even with Xining taking care of them. Speaking of which, Naoki-senpai is the grandson of the first Hokage-sama. Could it be that he has inherited the wood style of the first generation? That is the blood heritage power that quelled the troubled times of the Warring States period. Shiraishi is thinking about this. Hearing what Shiraishi said, Ruri said, this kind of thing is impossible. According to the records of our Uchiha family, among the Senju clan, only the first generation of ninjas awakened wood style. Shiraishi raised his eyebrows. That's really strange. Strange. Yes, wood style is the blood succession boundary, and this ability will be passed on to the next generation, just like Uchiha's Sharingan and Hyuga's Byakugan. Wouldn't it be strange if Naoki-senpai didn't awaken wood style? After all, the source of wood style's blood is only one generation away from the source of wood style blood, and the blood is very close to the first generation. As far as I know, Tsunade Shinobi doesn't know how to use wood style. Shiraishi was even more puzzled. I didn't think so at first, but when I think about it seriously, it's understandable that the rest of the Senju clan didn't inherit wood style. Shiraishi can regard wood style as the blood inheritance limit created by the first Hokage Senju Hashirama. In other words, wood style's blood will not awaken on other Senju people, but it will definitely appear on their direct descendants. Naoki has not awakened wood style, which can be explained by his young age and lack of strength, but Tsunade is already a well-known Jonin in the village, and she is also an outstanding Jonin. Jonin like this has not awakened wood style. Could it be that wood style is not some kind of blood inheritance limit at all? Or to awaken the wood release, what special things are needed? Shiraishi couldn't figure this out. I remember you once said that the first generation of adults will also use something called sage art, right? Ah, I did say that. I also accidentally saw it in the family's classics. It is said that in nature, there is a special energy called natural energy, which seems to be related to sage art. I don't know the rest. Could it be related to wood style? Who knows, many things about the ancestors are difficult to verify. After all, I have never heard of anyone in the Uchiha who has practiced sage arts, otherwise there must be related cultivation methods passed down. Ruri is also interested in this sage art, but doesn't know how to obtain the power of the sage art. Compared to something that can't be seen clearly, Sharingan still makes her feel real. This is the source of power for the Uchiha ninjas. Natural energy, what exactly does it look like? Shiraishi looked up at the sky with a puzzled look on his face, but there was a desire to explore in his eyes. To understand sage mode, one must first grasp the natural energy, and to grasp the natural energy, one must first discover and accept the natural energy. Ruri could see that Shiraishi was also very interested in the so-called sage art, which is his common problem. Once encountering something unknown, the other party's curiosity would become stronger than her. I'll bring you the classics about sage arts tomorrow. Huh, is it okay? Those kinds of classics are precious, right? Precious. That's not considered precious, it's just superficial. It's like many people in the ninja world know the existence of wood style, but only the first generation adults can use it. The same is true for sage arts. Knowing the existence of sage arts and learning to master them are two different things. One day later, Ruri gave Shiraishi some of the classics about sage arts in Uchiha as promised. Anyway, this thing is useless in her house, and it is completely useless. Shiraishi felt like a treasure. Even if it is the superficial information of sage art, he still thinks this information is very precious. At night, he practiced with Ruri for a while, and then Shiraishi couldn't wait to go home, and spread the materials of sage arts on the desk with the lamp turned on. The scroll that recorded the sage art was already very worn out, and there was some dust on it that couldn't be shaken off, so it was fixed on it. Shiraishi didn't care, opened the scroll, and began to read the words on it. The general information recorded on the scroll is that, based on the ordinary chakra, it absorbs the natural energy of the outside world and fuses it to form the so-called sage chakra. Create senjutsu chakra, and you can use senjutsu. When using sage art, you must first enter the sage mode. Very short introduction. But in this, the most important thing is the so-called natural energy. Ordinary chakra can be produced by fusion with the ninja's own physical and spiritual energy. Senjutsu chakra, in addition to the two kinds of energy, adding natural energy, is the senjutsu chakra. And natural energy exists in the air and the earth. That is to say, natural energy is actually everywhere. If you want to feel the natural energy, you have to be one with nature. How to become one with nature is not documented, not at all. Integrate with nature, feel the natural energy, how to receive it, how much to receive, and what proportion of the three types of energy need to be used to balance, all of which are not recorded. Chapter 24. Quote. To be honest, Shiraishi was a little disappointed after reading the scroll, but it's normal after thinking about it. If it records the way of cultivating sage arts, it is impossible for Ruri to hand over this kind of thing to him. Up to now, Shiraishi's research on chakra has encountered a bottleneck, and he needs new things to break his further understanding of chakra. Originally wanted to get some inspiration from sage art, but the knowledge on the scroll was of little use to him. No, it's not my style to give up so early. Actually, the things on the scroll are still useful. Although there is no specific description of how to integrate with nature and feel the natural energy, but if this assumption is true and correct, how can I enter the state of integration with nature and feel the existence of natural energy? So, integration with nature is the key. How to integrate? Shiraishi took out the notes about chakra that he had written before. In the research made by Shiraishi, some hidden information about chakra has been explored. For example, the synthesis of chakra is traceable. The collection of physical energy and spiritual energy has formed a stable system. According to the root of this system, chakra can be stably produced. The sage chakra, on the basis of the system, adds natural energy. From a system with 2 energies, it becomes a stable system with 3 energies. Sage chakra system must exist, and it must be stable and sustainable to be mastered. There is some kind of deep connection between ordinary chakra and sage chakra. This connection may be the key to attracting natural energy. So, how to use ordinary chakra to induce natural energy? When merging with nature, what role does ordinary chakra play? Physical energy can be produced through physical exercise, or it can be said to be the source of life necessary to maintain the body. Carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, these 3 things are oxidized in the human body, and they are essential substances to maintain a person's physical activity. Spiritual energy is related to consciousness, and more generally speaking, it is something that is linked to the soul. The Sharingan of the Uchiha clan is based on emotion, and it needs to be highly stimulated emotionally. According to Ruri, this is also a kind of spiritual energy. So, emotions are also mental energy. To be more precise, the fluctuations of emotions depend on the strength of each person's mentality. At the end of the notes, Shiraishi wrote his conclusions. Refining chakra is related to the amount of life substance ingested that day, the emotional state of the day, and the strength of the individual's natural soul and body. These factors will affect the functional efficiency of chakra refining. Solve the problem of the source of ordinary chakra, and further analyze the specific sources of physical energy and spiritual energy. The natural energy comes from the air and the earth, everywhere. I'm breathing air all the time now, does this count as absorbing natural energy? Shiraishi looked at the dark night scene outside the window, and the evening breeze was cool and dry, and he began to mutter to himself. Well, it seems to be very tricky. Another round of Sunday off. Shiraishi came to the well-known Uchiha clan. Here is like a scene of a village within a village. The Uchiha clan is located in the middle of Konoha Village. To be honest, for a wealthy family, the location is a bit remote from the core of the village. After all, Uchiha controls a department with such great power as the guard. How powerful is the power of the Uchiha clan? For example, Anbu is directly under Hokage. Under normal circumstances, they are not qualified to directly take people, and they need to wait for the Hokage's orders. The guard team of the Uchiha clan does not need this kind of order, they can take people at will, although the final judgment needs Hokage to arbitrate. But it also means that the power of the Uchiha clan's guard team is to be above Hokage's directly subordinate Anbu. For a ninja, this kind of power will definitely not end well in the end. However, this is the Uchiha. They founded Konoha Village together with the Senju clan. As the 2 founding ninja clans of the village, it is normal for them to have such power. And only people from this family are qualified and capable of taking charge of the guard. The first time Shiraishi stepped into the Uchiha clan, he saw a huge and luxurious building, which was the headquarters of the Uchiha clan's security force. At the gate of the guard building, there are usually 2 Uchiha Chunin who are guarding the gate. They saw a foreigner like Shiraishi walking into the Uchiha clan and did not stop him or drive him away. The land of the Uchiha clan does not prohibit outsiders from visiting here, as long as they don't provoke them, they are actually easy to talk to, right? Shiraishi searched for the location of Ruri's house according to the route map given by Ruri. The land of the Uchiha clan covers a vast area. When he was looking for the glazed residence, Shiraishi saw many large training grounds, one big house after another. The location of the store is also very lively, and occasionally I saw some adults who are not from the Uchiha clan shopping here. It seems that they get along pretty well. Although Shiraishi has heard that the Uchiha ninjas in the security team have an arrogant attitude, in fact, he only heard what others said, but he has never seen what an arrogant ninja in the security team looks like. However, it is impossible for everyone in a family to have the same personality. If there is gentleness, there will naturally be irritableness. Just like some Konoha civilians may not be honest, sometimes Shiraishi will be tricked when he goes out to eat, and there are some guys who drink and make trouble on the street. More are those civilians who do their best. They are honest and kind, and have many precious qualities in life. Therefore, No matter whether it is a wealthy ninja or a commoner, they cannot be killed with one shot. While thinking about these things, Shiraishi also found the Ruri residence at the end of the road map. Shiraishi looked at the huge mansion in front of him. It was the most luxurious residence he had seen along the way. None of the mansions he saw before could compare with this mansion. Shiraishi took a visual inspection and found that this mansion covers an area of at least several thousand square meters. Through the wall, you can also see the canopy of the cherry blossom trees blooming in the courtyard. There are a few pink cherry blossoms floating out from the wall, bringing fragrance. The first feeling is that it is so big here. The second feeling is that the Ruri family is very rich. This set of property can't be bought without 100 million taels. Shiraishi felt that the place where he lived was no different from the kennel. Evil capitalists. Hi, are you here to see Lord Ruri? The young woman in kimono saw Shiraishi standing at the door, so she stopped cleaning her hands, came to Shiraishi, and asked him with a gentle smile. Yes, I'm Chiba Shiroishi, I should have an appointment. Hearing Shiraishi's self-report, the maid in kimono continued to look at Shiraishi with a gentle smile and nodded. Come with me, Lord Ruri is waiting for you inside. The gestures and manners are impeccable, and the honorifics are used. Shiraishi followed the maid into this strangely large mansion. The building materials here are mainly 200-year-old cedar wood. The boards in the corridor are clean and bright, and people's shadows can be vaguely reflected when walking on them. The doors and windows are also mostly simple and transparent. There are ponds in the courtyard, and there are also many old trees of different varieties, with a certain age. While walking in the corridor, Shiraishi also met many passing maids. They were all dressed in neat kimonos, and they all smiled friendlily at Shiraishi as they passed by, and it was obvious that they were very polite. Even with so many maids, cleaning such a large mansion is probably not an easy job. And that's just a small part of the front yard. Ruri was in the largest house in the backyard. The maid slid open the wooden door and bowed respectfully to the people inside. Master Ruri, the guests have been brought. Okay, you can leave now. Yes. The maid obeyed Ruri's order and went down. Shiraishi walked in, looking around curiously. The huge room was almost empty, with only some cushions and a small tea table, and besides that, there was only one high-end looking floor berth. The unpretentious life of a capitalist. Suddenly Shiraishi didn't want to work hard anymore. Chapter 25. To be honest, your house is too big. After scanning the room where Ruri was, Shiraishi sat down without any restraint. It's a bit big, but it's a little deserted every day. That's true. By the way, aren't your parents at home? Wouldn't it be better for me to say hello? Ruri shook her head and said, no need. The two of them are not in the village all the year round. Because they don't have the talent to be ninjas, they can only do small business outside. They only send a little money back every month. Shiraishi's eyelids twitched. Small business. He really wanted to ask Ruri if she had any business misunderstanding. By the way, what are you going to do here? Although I have a private training ground at home, it is too ostentatious and does not conform to your mystical style. Yesterday, Shiraishi told her that he wanted to meet her to deal with important matters. I want to do an experiment with you. Is there any hidden and strong empty house? Experiment. Ruri frowned, not quite understanding Shiraishi's intention. Because I think the movement will be a bit loud and dangerous. The laboratory in my house is too small. Hearing Shiraishi's explanation, Ruri didn't pursue it to the end, and led Shiraishi through a corridor and into an empty house. Then open a wooden board in the house, and there is a secret passage leading to the ground. Electricity was connected along the way on both sides, and lights were on. Reaching the bottom of the passage, there is an underground space of about 50 square meters. The surrounding and ground are protected by hard stone slabs, and it is no problem to block the impact of ninjutsu. Is this place okay? If it's not enough, there's a slightly bigger one next to it, which is twice the size of this place. It's enough, it's better than I imagined. Shiraishi is very satisfied with the closed space here, even far exceeding his expectations. I'll go up first, call me if you need anything. Ruri went up alone. Shiraishi took out the sealing scroll, spread it out on the ground, made seals with both hands, and white smoke exploded from the scroll with a bang. Along with the white smoke, there are also a large number of research instruments. However, these research instruments are relatively small and can be loaded with scrolls. Speaking of which, this kind of ninjutsu, which uses scrolls to seal things and make things easy to carry, was taught to him by Ruri. Arranging all kinds of research equipment neatly here, Shiraishi started the experiment. And this experiment is different from usual. It is more dangerous than previous experiments. If this experiment is successful, there will be bigger rewards. It was about evening, and the sun was setting, but Shiraishi never came out of the basement. Ruri in her room finished chakra refining in the afternoon and asked the maid to arrange dinner. Seeing that Shiraishi had no idea of coming out, she ate alone first. After eating, Shiraishi still didn't come out of the basement. Ruri still ignored him. Until midnight, when Ruri was having a good dream, the earth suddenly shook. Ruri's body also trembled slightly, and with her keen senses, she suddenly sat up from the floor and scanned her surroundings. Earthquake. Not right. Ruri denied it instantly. The source of the earthquake is very close to me, and the way the vibration is generated should be related to the explosion of some equipment. Although it is not very obvious, but I feel it. Thinking of something, Ruri didn't have time to put on her coat. Wearing black tights, she slid open the wooden door and quickly walked towards the room in another corridor. Her destination is the basement in this house. When Ruri arrived below, what she saw was the mess in the basement, with a huge pothole in the middle. Even the hard floor, which can protect against the impact of ninjutsu, was blown out of such a pothole, and Ruri's eyes showed a strange color. Then she saw Shiraishi, who was ashamed and seemed to be stunned by the explosion in front of him. In the hole of the explosion, there was a very strong chakra. It seemed to be a little different. In short, a very strong breath lingered there, giving Ruri a sense of oppression that was suddenly bitten by a beast. Apart from this, there are only some research instruments that have been completely blown up, all of which cannot be used again and are completely destroyed. Why are you here? Shiraishi came back to his senses and asked a silly question. Ruri didn't care about these things, and she didn't feel angry at Shiraishi for making her basement so bad. What she cares about is what kind of experiment Shiraishi is doing to blow up the floor that protects against ninjutsu impacts like this. What experiment are you doing? Traveling natural energy. Shiraishi didn't hide anything, and answered honestly. Sage art. Ruri glanced at Shiraishi in surprise. Well, this is the hypothesis and steps of the experiment, but now you can also write the conclusion. Shiraishi took out his notebook from the ninja bag. After Ruri took it, he opened it to have a look. Although she can recognize every word, there are too many technical terms that are unclear, so she can't understand what Shiraishi is writing at all. The experiment failed. Seeing the explosion here, Ruri thought Shiraishi's experiment had failed. Well, it can be said to be a failure, or it can be said to be a success. I successfully guided the natural energy and fused it with ordinary chakra, but I don't know what is the ratio of their pairing, and whether other things are needed to promote the fusion, so this experiment was accidental. After the natural energy neutralized the chakra out of control, it was even more violent than I expected. Shiraishi picked up the corner of a damaged research instrument, and stood there thoughtfully, thinking about something. Ruri nodded in agreement. Ordinary chakra does not have this level of destructive power without using spells to function. What do you need next? Ruri, who had never had a strong interest in Shiraishi's research, had the idea of supporting him for the first time. Money, lots of money. There's room for more solidity. Shiraishi was not polite. In his opinion, it is fair for Ruri to provide the funds and territory, to be in charge of the research, and to enjoy the final research results together. Follow Ruri to the upper room. Live here. Shiraishi was a little surprised by Ruri's sudden proposal. That's right, running back and forth is too troublesome. Otherwise, you can only come here on Sunday, and the time spent on researching natural energy is too little, and the results will be slow. Won't this raise suspicion? Shiraishi is worried about this. Not all the maids in my family are from Uchiha. I will hire you to work in my house with a formal employment contract. Besides, who would focus on a student of a ninja school? Do you think Hokage Anbu will handle such trivial matters? Even if there is an investigation, it is the work of our Uchiha guard. But Ruri said it makes sense. After all, experiments on natural energy really cannot be done in his home. His previous experiments were actually very formal and not dangerous. Even if he was accidentally discovered, he could use words to smooth it over. But the natural energy experiment does not work. Everything involved here is top secret and must be kept secret. If Ruri uses an employment contract to let him work in her house, it is indeed a good way to deceive others. Anbu, directly under Hokage, would not be so leisurely as to monitor a ninja school student, not to mention that Shiraishi did not show any hostility towards the village. He is the successor of the authentic Will of Fire. Even if something is wrong, it is the job of the security team, and Ruri is a genius of the Uchiha clan, so he has a background. The most important point is that I am poor. In Konoha, there is no child protection law. When Shiraishi was 6 years old, he was kicked out of the orphanage to live on his own. Underage children earn money. To live and work, is it reasonable? Ruri employs him with an employment contract, which is also the help of friends. After all, he and Ruri are almost inseparable. In the eyes of many people, he and Ruri are very good friends. It is normal for friends to help each other. In this way, he has enough time to conduct natural energy experiments, and enough secrecy. Speaking of which, how did you attract natural energy? Ruri asked the question she cared most about. The sage art information she gave Shiraishi before was just some superficial information about sage art. Ruri is very curious about how Shiraishi draws out natural energy. Didn't you read the previous notes? It's actually quite simple to say. I don't know how the first generation adults guide natural energy. I guide natural energy from the root of chakra, and use the root system of chakra to throw bait. Quote. As for the specific source of chakra, it is actually related to our usual state and diet. Physical strength is inseparable from food intake, supplementing carbohydrates, protein, fat, grape acid, etc. Mental energy is not only related to the soul, emotions can also affect a person's mental state, that is, the state. The physical and spiritual power comes from these in the final analysis. It has a similar chemical reaction with the human body, and it is chakra after fusion and extraction. Of course, this also involves a more complicated human body, which leads to, do you understand? Quote. Chapter 26. Since we want to further study natural energy, the laboratory naturally needs to be more formal. The affairs here must remain unknown to outsiders, and the procurement of research equipment must also be conducted in secrecy. Ruri looked very serious. The matter of sage art is too important, let alone outsiders, even the people of the Uchiha clan. Ruri does not intend to reveal it. Shiraishi pondered over the dilemma of keeping their activities hidden from the maids. However, before Shiraishi could voice his concerns, Ruri put her thumb in her mouth and bit it, and immediately began to form seals, and finally pressed her palm on the ground with a slap. Summoning jutsu. White smoke came out with a bang. A black cat appeared in front of Shiraishi and Ruri. It was about half the size of a human, wagging its tail at Ruri. Ruri took out a list showing the names of various research equipment. Buy all the above items, and I will check and inspect them in a day. The black cat nodded resolutely, and disappeared into white smoke with a bang. Shiraishi looked at the place where the black cat disappeared. That's. We Uchiha and the ninja cats have always been friends. Before going to school, I signed a summoning contract with some of the ninja cats. They will do work safely and concealed enough to avoid the eyes and ears of the village. Ninja cats are active in every corner of the ninja world, and there are more or less shadows of the ninja cats everywhere. Whether it is gathering information or buying goods, their mobility is first rate. For Ruri, Ninja Cat, who signed a summoning contract with her, is undoubtedly her most capable assistant. Shiraishi marveled Ruri's connections. This is the difference between wealthy families and ordinary people. Not only does she have her own complete training method, but she also has a variety of information books for reference, as well as a wider network than ordinary people. Staying at Ruri's house, this incident did not cause any setbacks. For the whole village, it was an insignificant matter. Now Shiraishi lives in a room comparable to a high-end hotel every day, sleeps on a luxurious and soft big bed, eats a nutritious breakfast carefully prepared by the maids in the morning, can go for a walk in the yard when tired, and fish in the pond. It is said that he is a servant of Ruri's family, but in fact he is a young master. During the days of living in the house of the wealthy young lady, life was boring and ordinary. Although occasionally receiving strange contemptuous looks from the maid in Ruri's house, Shiraishi remained indifferent to it. He is working hard and earning a soft meal based on his real ability. What did these maids know? Now Shiraishi can only practice with Ruri once in a while. As soon as school is over, he will quickly return to the underground laboratory that Ruri bought for him to study and guide natural energy. Only when the natural energy is successfully guided, then the next step of sage chakra fusion be carried out. For this reason, the underground of Ruri's house often exploded. Although the fluctuations were small, Ruri made the surroundings of the laboratory more stable for complete secrecy until the vibrations from the explosions could not be felt above. These sophisticated experimental instruments, including the environmental reinforcement of the laboratory, use the defensive shields transported from the country of iron. According to Ruri, these cost a total of 45 million taels, accounting for 1/10 of her pocket money in the bank account. Shiraishi just wants to know what kind of small business Ruri's parents are doing outside, so that Ruri can live such an ordinary life. The day at the end of the first month of living in the Ruri family. Shiraishi returned to the laboratory after school in the afternoon and continued to do research on natural energy, while Ruri went to Uchiha's Naka Shrine to participate in the monthly family meeting. The Uchiha members participating in the clan association are not ordinary Uchiha clansmen. Opening Sharingan is only one of the necessary conditions. It also requires the strength of a ninja who is particularly Junin and above, or is a genius cultivated by the family like Ruri, who has a high probability of inheriting the position of the patriarch. Excellent members. Ruri is not only a genius of Uchiha, but also being cultivated as one of the candidates for the next patriarch. So she is eligible to participate in the small clan meeting once a month. Naka Shrine. Uchiha ninjas gathered here. The sky was dark, the torches on both sides of the road were lit, and the road leading to the top of the shrine could be seen clearly. Arrived at the top of Naka Shrine, entered the buildings of the shrine, opened the sealed stone slab with a spell, and the Uchiha ninjas walked down one after another. In the empty basement, an ancient stone tablet stands, with fires burning on both sides, illuminating the dark basement. There are more than 20 people gathered here, all of whom are special Junin who are currently staying in the clan, or Junin, and some Junin who did not come, because they are performing tasks outside, so they can only be absent. There is actually nothing important to announce at the clan meeting once a month. The relationship between Uchiha and Hokage is still getting along well. Except for some individual high-level people, they will be dissatisfied or hostile to Uchiha. But the Uchiha clan would not respond to those eyes of fear and disgust. As Konoha's #1 ninja, they have this confidence. Even Hokage has to give them face, not to mention those high-level people who are weaker than Hokage. The clan association is all about dealing with trivial matters. Where the training ground is broken, have there been more complaints from Konoha villagers against the security force recently? Is there any new good seedlings in the clan that are worth cultivating? How is this month's expenses compared to last month? Has the clan's industrial income increased? After an hour, the clan meeting ended in a long and boring rhythm. Ruri, Fugaku, you stay here. An old man with gray hair spoke. He was over 60 years old and his face was full of wrinkles. Uchiha Tenjin. He is the most prestigious elder in the Uchiha family. Due to his advanced age, he has quit the ninja career and lives in the rear, shouldering the important task of cultivating the genius ninjas of the Uchiha family. The one who was stopped along with Ruri was a 17 or 18-year-old Uchiha ninja, Uchiha Fugaku. Handsome, with no immaturity visible on his face, giving off a mature and stable demeanor. Fugaku, like Ruri, is a genius ninja of the Uchiha clan. He passed the Jonin assessment last year and became an excellent and young Jonin. In addition, his Sharingan is at 3 tomo. Facing Jonin of the same level, his advantage is also very obvious. Ruri and Fugaku knelt in front of Elder Tenjin, quietly waiting for him to speak. If nothing else happens, the next patriarch will be chosen between the two of you. Yes. Hearing what Elder Tenjin said, Ruri and Fugaku didn't change their expressions. The two of you are undoubtedly the rare talents of Uchiha since ancient times, and you have the possibility to open the Mangekyo Sharingan. When Elder Tenjin mentioned the name of Mangekyo Sharingan, Ruri and Fugaku became slightly moved. Mangekyo Sharingan, which is the ultimate eye above 3 tomo Sharingan. It is impossible to verify that it is even older. The Uchiha ninja who opened the Mangekyo Sharingan in the most recent era is the Uchiha Madara who founded Konoha Village with the first Hokage Senju Hashirama. That is the legendary eye that can only be opened by Uchiha, and it holds the supreme pupil technique. Elder Tenjin, as the most experienced elder of the Uchiha clan, was already a Junin in the village when Konoha was first built. He may not know all Uchiha secrets, but he definitely knows more than most Uchiha clan members. This includes the secret of Mangekyo Sharingan. Elder Tenjin, what are the conditions for opening the Mangekyo Sharingan? It was Fugaku who asked this question. His Sharingan has reached 3 tomo, which is the highest level of ordinary Sharingan. He is more eager than Ruri to know the promotion method of Mangekyo Sharingan. Only in this way can he become the patriarch of Uchiha without fail and lead Uchiha to a new height. He feels that he has enough strength to contact Mangekyo Sharingan now. Fugaku, your 3 tomo Sharingan training is not enough, you still need to continue to training. In a few days, I will recommend you to the 3rd Hokage, and let you form a team with other Konoha ninjas to perform tasks. You will benefit a lot from there. Yes. Fugaku obeyed without hesitation. His strength was taught by the elders of Tenjin, and he was extremely convinced of the arrangements of elders of Tenjin. He must have his own considerations for such an arrangement. Elder Tenjin, what should I do? Ruri asked. Your luck is better than Fugaku, and you have found the conditions to open the Mangekyo Sharingan. Next, you only need to train the ordinary Sharingan to the limit. When the right time comes, I will tell you how to open the Mangekyo Sharingan. Elder Tenjin looked at Ruri with deep meaning. He attaches more importance to Ruri than Fugaku. Her deep bond with the village ninja, as well as her dedication to power, and her unparalleled talent in using Sharingan. At that time, in order to obtain the strongest power, she would definitely not be able to resist the temptation of the legendary pupil technique and will make the right choice. At that time, the Uchiha clan will usher in prosperity again, completely surpassing the Senju family. Yes, she wondered why Elder Tenjin said that the conditions for her to open the Mangekyo Sharingan are better than that of Fugaku, and she only needs to exercise the ordinary Sharingan to the limit, but Ruri didn't think deeply about it, just nodded to show that she understood. Compared with the position of patriarch, she is more interested in the eye-opening method of the Mangekyo Sharingan. Chapter 27, Konoha 33, February. This year's winter is colder than previous years, snowflakes are falling from the sky, and even the sky is dyed pale. The cold wind is raging in every corner of Muya village. In this cold season, if there is no special important thing, most people will choose to spend this cold winter at home around the stove. But for the students of ninja school, they still have to go to school as usual. In class of the 4th grade, Ruri was wearing a black long-sleeved shirt and trousers, a white scarf around her neck, her long black hair flowed down to her waist, she propped her chin with her palm, and admired the snowy scenery outside through the transparent glass. The playground is already covered with snow. In this season, I really want to spend the whole day at home instead of going to school. Suddenly, there was a loud noise outside. Even the silence in the class was broken. Ruri frowned impatiently, these guys were still buzzing like flies as usual. Do you find it noisy? Shiraishi came back with a convenience bag, which contained hot milk tea and hamburger meat. Of course, it was brought with Ruri's money. Of course. However, they can only have fun at school. Ruri took out her share of hot milk tea and a serving of hamburger meat from the convenience bag. Ayane, do you want to eat? I bought an extra serving here. Shiraishi turned his head to look at Ayane on the other side. No thanks. Ayane smiled apologetically, stood up from her seat, and walked out of the classroom. Shiraishi stared at Ayane's retreating back, sighed and said, I always feel that she is more out of group than you, Ruri, obviously we could still play together before. Ruri's eyes showed a dangerous light, she looked at the convenience bag in Shiraishi's hand and asked, when did I allow you to take my money and invite unrelated people to eat? No, I think they are all classmates at the same table, this. Are you going to starve tonight and tomorrow morning? Who do you think is feeding you right now? I know. Remember to report to me in advance next time. I hate when people do things without telling me. Is this what you care about? I understand. I will tell you in advance next time. Shiraishi sighed again, sat on his seat, picked up the milk tea and drank it, and then took another bite of the hot hamburger meat. By the way, what was so noisy outside just now? Ruri asked Shiraishi while drinking milk tea. Don't you know? Some people in the 4th grade want to graduate early, and today is the day to recruit graduates. I heard that there are 3 people in our class who want to graduate 2 years early. By the way, Minato Namikaze from the next class is one of them. Shiraishi told the truth what he knew. That yellow-haired sissy, I heard you say he is number 1 in class B. Even if you are number 1 in class B, it is impossible for you to be the opponent of number 1 in class A. Shiraishi was full of confidence in Ruri's strength, and said with a smile. I don't look down on anyone. Although she said so, Shiraishi's compliment was still very useful on her. The class started soon, and the homeroom teacher, Fujimura Taiga, came in from outside the classroom and started the formal class. The indoor subjects of the 4th grade are more complicated than those of the 1st to 3rd grades. There are many things to learn in the 4th grade, which may be of great help to ordinary common people, but for Shiraishi, who has already graduated from self-study, no matter whether it is indoor or outdoor classes, it is meaningless. Therefore, except for the lesson about the will of fire, Shiraishi and Ruri will do what they want to do. Shiraishi took a pen and a ruler, and began to draw on the notebook in front of him, annotating words and formulas beside it. This is an important experiment to be carried out at night, where the theoretical derivation is carried out, and then applied to practice. It has been more than 3 months since the study of natural energy. In the past 3 months, Shiraishi has successfully channeled natural energy, but the channeled natural energy was not particularly stable. And even if the natural energy is successfully channeled, if there is no corresponding means, the natural energy will soon overflow and volatilize, turning into untouchable air, and returning to the natural world. So, in the next experiment, Shiraishi will extend the time for natural energy to appear as a body, so that he has enough time to understand natural energy and successfully use it. Time passed quietly like this. Early March. Occasionally, light snow falls in the sky, and the weather has warmed up slightly, but it is still very cold. In this Shouhan day, something happened, which was beyond everyone's expectations, and broke the tranquility and peace of Konoha Village. The sand ninjas plundered the border of the Country of Fire, causing heavy losses to Konoha troops on the border of the Country of Fire, and officially declared war on Konoha. Just over a year after the Land of Rain War, the flames of war once again ignited on the Land of Fire. And the target of the declaration of war is Sand Hidden Village, which is also the 5 great ninja villages. The 3rd Cage personally led the team, leading a large number of sand-hidden ninjas, and provoked a war against Konoha. Konoha Village is surrounded by a tense and heavy atmosphere visible to the naked eye. The war in the Kingdom of Rain had just ended in October of last year, but in the past half a year, the war swept across again. Moreover, the person who declared war on Konoha this time was the sand-hidden ninja whose overall strength was far above the ninjas of Rain Village. The ninja group of the 5 major countries like Konoha, their mobilization speed, and ninja quality are far above the Rain Ninja. The rise and fall of the Rain Village rests on its leader Hanzo alone. Sand Village is different. Its leader is the 3rd Cage, one of the 5 cages in the world, and is known as the strongest cage in history. There are a lot of talents under his command, and he is also assisted by the elder sister Chio, who is a consultant elder. They are all powerful ninjas who are famous in the ninja world. Moreover, Sand Village also set up a powerful puppet organization troupe, which caused the major ninja villages to suffer a lot in previous wars. This time, Sand Village is coming in a menacing manner, and it is by no means a battle that can be easily dismissed. It seems that the War of the Land of the Rain is just an opening act for Konoha's official involvement in the Second Ninja World War, and the real war has just begun. This sense of oppression that the mountain rain is about to come and the wind is overwhelming the building is pressing on the heads of all Konoha ninjas. The Konoha executives, headed by the third Hokage, held an emergency meeting. The night after the meeting was held, a large number of Konoha ninjas who were making up left the village and headed for the border of the Land of Fire to support them. The major ninja clans also dispatched their elite ninjas to fight the sand-hidden ninjas. War is imminent. Chapter 28. The war has nothing to do with Shiraishi for now. Although the coming of war makes him a little unhappy, even if he wants to go to the battlefield, it will be 2 years later. Be optimistic, maybe the war will be over in 2 years, right? Also, war has the advantages of war. Because of the war, Konoha Village's workforce is a bit small. For sure, Anbu will be busy every day. Who's going to care about an average student at ninja school? The attention of the Hokage and other high-ranking officers was attracted by the Sand Ninja Uchiha clan, the underground laboratory. It's as spacious as 100 square meters, and there's full power equipment installed here to light up the lab. In the middle, there is an open space for people to circulate, and electronic equipment and surgical tables for examinations are also placed. A floor-to-ceiling transparent cylinder filled with green solution, soaked in parts extracted from animals, was catalyzed by an unknown method and degree and assumed a strange shape. Shiraishi holds a glass test tube in his hands. The test tube stores extremely solid light green liquid energy. This is the natural energy entity that Shiraishi draws from the earth and air. How's the progress? Ruri, who came from above, asked about the progress of natural energy research. To help Shiraishi do constant research, whether it's equipment or materials, Ruri will find a way to get them. The work and funds spent on it are completely incomparable with previous expenditures. The natural energy is a little bit higher. If the time is longer, you can do the next experiment. Shiraishi dropped the test tube. The bright green liquid energy in the test tube started to dilute without warning. The color lightened and finally turned white, and the test tube was empty. Natural energy was active. This situation will happen if it does not merge with other substances while the natural energy is activated. Besides, that's not the most important question. Shiraishi knew that extracting and fusing natural energy was a trivial matter at this point in the experiment. What do you mean? After injecting natural energy into them, natural chakra is formed and absorbed, and the result becomes this strange shape. Shiraishi walked over to a floor-to-ceiling glass cylinder, tapped it with his finger, and made a clear sound, but the alien inside didn't respond. In other words, the use of natural chakra comes with an as yet unknown risk, which will cause biological abnormalities. If used directly on the human body will also become an alien monster. Shiraishi went to the next shelf, took a scroll, and opened it. Ruchi Cave, Mount Myoboku and Shikatsu Forest are places called the Three Holy Lands. It is said that in these three places you can practice the sage art. However, the sage arts inherited from the three holy places seem to be different. Corresponding biological characteristics will be generated. That said, Shiraishi couldn't help but sigh again. The Uchiha clan's book collection is very rich. Although no specific training methods have been investigated, these materials have also inspired me a lot. In other words, the sage arts of the three holy places are probably not suitable for humans. Shiraishi has definitive evidence to prove that the sage system of the three holy places is not suitable for the human body. System. Because the biological structure of frogs, snakes, and slugs is completely different from that of humans. Sage art suitable for frogs, snakes, and slugs will likely clash with the human processing system. In that case, the death rate and failure of humans to practice these three sage mode will be high. Shiraishi looked at the part of the creature in the landing cylinder that turned into an alien because of chakra, which was the best proof. For example, the mouse is used as a source of natural chakra refinement, and when this chakra is transferred to the snake. As a result, some of the mouse features appear on the snake. Likewise, when using snakes as a source of natural chakra refinement and transferring them to mice, snake characteristics will appear in mice. That's how the alien creatures in the cylinder came about. This is also the reason why Shiraishi judged that the sage system of the three holy places is not universal for human beings. The structure of the human body is more complex and rich than that of frogs. Once mistakes occur, the consequences will be disastrous. Before you can be sure, Shiraishi won't try it alone. Therefore, Shiraishi can only experiment with animal bodies first, and when the risk is minimized, experiment with human bodies. But this kind of experiment on humans, Shiraishi rejects. But if you want to control the natural chakra without risk, human experiments are inevitable. These things Shiraishi doesn't tell Ruri. Very dark things are not suitable for children and it will only affect their future values. Life is useless. To say that is a bit hypocritical. However, medicine is developed step by step in this way. Without the human body to study, medical science cannot advance. Fortunately, natural energy research has just taken the first step. Human experiments will likely not take place until many years later. Also, although you cannot use natural chakra, there are still many uses for natural energy. The vitality contained in natural energy is very great and has an extremely high medical value. Therefore, Shiraishi slowed down the steps of natural energy research because there was too much uncertainty and too little information. Also, the process of breaking the bird in the cage must be unraveled as soon as possible. I can't stay in Konoha. Before that, Ayane must be free from the curse. Ruri, can you help me find some medicinal supplies? You make a list for me. Ruri has her private channel, which can avoid Konoha's sight and get all sorts of material from outside, so the issue of medicinal materials is not difficult at all. Also, to protect the lab's secrets, Ruri has organized a large number of explosive tags around it. If a stranger enters here, Ruri will immediately sense and activate the explosive tags, detonating all the explosive tags here, blowing up the entire lab. It's taboo to spy on a ninja's privacy. Ruri has the power to judge trespassers. Chapter 29. War has the suffering of war but life still continues. Among the villagers who became restless and restless again, Shiraishi was the one with the most peaceful mood. Because of the war, the medical instructor of the number 1 medical ninja experimental class changed back to the unknown Anbu-junin again. At the beginning of the war against the Fire Nation, Tsunade had already gone to the front line to cooperate with a group of Konoha ninjas to fight against Sand Village. Her younger brother Naoki also joined the battle early. I hope he is safe and sound. War is not a meat grinder. A few months after the start of the war, that is, in July of that year, it was summer, and the breeze was mixed with a touch of sultry heat. Shiraishi has successfully entered the 5th grade. Ninjutsu training and natural energy research are going on very regularly. The first batch of drugs developed with natural energy was finally developed by Shiraishi after several months of unremitting efforts and a large investment of funds. This is a lavender-colored tablet, about the size of a thumb, which neutralizes a lot of medicinal materials. The most important thing is that it incorporates natural energy, which doubles the value and effect of this drug. Shiraishi's research has long shown that natural energy is a kind of violent and extremely vital special energy. If there is no other substance to neutralize, if it is directly ingested into the organism, there is a high probability that it will die immediately. Unless it is the kind of person who is naturally friendly to natural energy, Shiraishi has never seen a human with this special physique, and it is even unknown whether it exists or not. The effect of this new drug can improve Shiraishi's comprehensive physical ability, including the body's self-healing and immune ability, and will have a comprehensive increase in strength, response nerves, and anti-strike ability. This new drug has very few side effects, so you only need to take 1 tablet a day for more than a month, and the effect of the drug will gradually show in the user. The degree of saturation of drug effects varies according to each person's physique and processing system capabilities. Some people can reach saturation after taking it for 7 or 8 months. Some people can continue to take it for more than 10 months before causing body rejection. Based on the report generated after the self-examination, Shiraishi determined that the saturation time of taking this drug was 11 months. Once the condition of 11 months is met, you must stop taking it. The saturation of Ruri is between 11 and 12 months. To be conservative, Shiraishi set the time at 11.5 months. After taking this drug, Ruri will not feel tired and heavy after about 6 or 7 months, even if the Sharingan is kept open for a long time. Shiraishi also plans to find a time to deliver this new medicine to Ayane and let her take it. The war is imminent. If you prepare well, the chance of surviving will be higher. Ayane is hospitalized at this time. While practicing, she intentionally sprained her leg and had to rest in the hospital for about 4 days. Because Shiraishi gave her many important tasks that had to be completed in the hospital, she could only enter the hospital for recuperation in this way. For example, when a pregnant woman gives birth to a baby, whether the chakra in the baby's body is produced by itself or flows from the mother's body. Or, when the embryo is formed, whether there is chakra produced. There are countless strange questions like this. This kind of observation task also made Ayane feel very ashamed. Although there are many pregnant women waiting to give birth in Konoha, there is no shortage of observation materials, but how can there be such a perverted task for a girl? Because Byakugan has the functions of clairvoyance, farsightedness and insight, only Ayane can do this kind of task. Ayane also knows this, but she still wants to complain about Shiraishi's research direction. Are all medical ninjas this perverted? Not only the problem of pregnant women giving birth, but also more weird observation tasks. Ayane is asked to write a documentary report and hand it over to him, saying that it will be of great use to his research. Ayane wondered if Shiraishi wanted to transfer to gynecology research. What a freak. On the third day of Ayane's hospitalization, there was a knock on the door. Come in. Shiraishi came in with a basket of fruit. Student Ayane, I'm here to visit you. These fruits are a gift from our classmates. Ayane breathed out and said. Don't worry, there is no one watching around, so there is no need to cover up like this. Well, Ayane-san, why can't I understand what you're talking about? I'm just here to express condolences to you on behalf of our classmates. Do you want me to burn those observation reports? Please be sure to hold your hand high. Shiraishi just finished playing stupid. Took the scroll for writing the observation report from Ayane, and put it in the ninja bag. After putting the fruit beside Ayane's bed, Shiraishi took out a palm-sized medicine bag from his arms and handed it to Ayane. This is a new drug developed by me to extract natural energy and neutralize it with other medicinal materials to enhance physical fitness. Remember to take it on time every day after lunch. This is a month's supply. I will give it to you on time for the rest of the month. It will be fine if you continue to take it for 11 months. Shiraishi knows Ayane's body well, so it is easy to conclude that Ayane's saturation is in 11 months, which is the same as his own. I always feel that the color is very suspicious. The appearance is like this. Isn't the point of the medicine? It doesn't matter about the appearance. Compared with this incident, is there anything worth noting recently? No, according to what you asked, I lived a very stable life in the family. Ayane recalled her life in the family during this period, and reported to Shiraishi. That's good. I have already made some judgments about the curse mark of the bird in the cage, but I can't confirm the accuracy of these inferences. Can you get information about the bird in the cage? You overestimate me, Shiraishi-kun. If I get in touch with that level of confidentiality, I will more likely get killed. That kind of information cannot be accessed by the branch family, Ayane said in a helpless tone. Shiraishi was not disappointed. He could have expected this kind of thing, but he still took the attitude of just in case. It seems that I can only find a way on my own. I won't bother you anymore. I've been here with you for a long time, it will arouse some suspicion. Ayane nodded and watched Shiraishi leave the ward where she was. Senju Nawaki died. The news came very suddenly. It's as if the person who was talking and laughing together yesterday was overwhelmed when he heard the news of his death early the next morning. It is said that he was eager for meritorious service, but he did not obey the command of his teacher Orochimaru during the encounter, recklessly fell into the enemy's trap, and finally died of serious injuries and rescue efforts. When Shiraishi heard the news, he was also stunned on the spot. Thinking of that young man from the Senju clan with a confident and cheerful smile who died suddenly at such a young age, Shiraishi felt a pity in his heart. In the face of war, even the blood of the first Hokage is meaningless. In places like the war, everyone must prepare to die. That has nothing to do with the ninja's identity or bloodline. The enemy will not show mercy to him just because he is the grandson of the first Hokage. Ms. Tsunade must be very sad. Although I really want to visit Tsunade and comfort her, but now that I am in Konoha Village, I can't do that at all. Even a ninja with the status of Senju Nawaki died worthlessly, so what can he change as a commoner? People are creatures that seek advantages and avoid disadvantages. Before their own safety is guaranteed, extending a helping hand to others will only make themselves more embarrassed. The meaning of the word rescue is only possessed by the strong, and the weak can only feel sorry for themselves. Nawaki is dead, Konoha will not specially hold a funeral for him. Now everyone is racing against time to kill the enemy and drive the enemy out of the country. Life and death have long been out of the question, and it is too late to mourn for a dead person. Even if he is the grandson of the first Hokage. Nawaki is a ninja, whether he has this awareness or not, it doesn't matter. This is the ninja war. Shiraishi understands the ruthlessness of war even more. In his previous life, he lived in a relatively peaceful age, far away from the flames of war. In the past few years, Konoha has not witnessed what the war looks like with his own eyes, but he has a deep understanding of one thing. Students are not worth being happy about. Death is not worth mourning. To be born in troubled times is the greatest misfortune. Chapter 30. Uchiha Clan Land, on the training ground surrounded by forests and rivers. The white-haired elder Uchiha Tenjin stood outside the arena holding his cane, staring intently at the two sides fighting in the arena. Uchiha Ruri, who was only 10 years old, with black hair dancing, shot the shuriken in his hand towards Uchiha Jonin who was facing him as quickly as lightning. This Uchiha shinobi is named Uchiha Kenji, about 25 or 26 years old, with a scar on his face which adds a bit of fierceness. He opened the 3-tomo Sharingan, and the shuriken that was as fast as lightning was directly seen through the trajectory by him, and he swung kunai to block the shuriken. However, the shuriken contained a great force. After the shuriken was bounced off, this force directly acted on Kenji's kunai, indirectly causing Kenji's body to stiffen for a moment. Such a power. Kenji's eyes were serious. Kenji felt that there was a kind of dark energy technique hidden in the shuriken projected by Ruri. If it was blocked with a weapon, the dark energy would pass through the weapon and act on the enemy's body, making the enemy's body stiff for a short time. The freezing time is related to the person's physical fitness. If a ninja encounters this situation, it is estimated that within a few seconds, there is no way to move freely. Waiting for the next round of shuriken to fly over, he will definitely be shot as a hedgehog. Even the strong Jonin like him froze. Even though this period of stiffness was negligible on him, Ruri also took advantage of this gap and quickly formed seals with both hands. Fire Release Dragon Fire Art. It was a 4 to 5 meter long, huge dragon-shaped object. Composed of high-temperature flames, it not only has a terrifying impact, but also can burn the enemy to ashes. Boom! It exploded on the ground, creating a huge pothole. Kenji dodged in a split second, his hair was a little burnt, and his figure was a little burned. He opened 3 Tomo's Sharingan, and immediately turned around and waved kunai. Ding! Ruri, whose body is smaller than Kenji Jamanin, was blocked by the opponent with a kunai attack. At this time, the sharing eyes of the two people directly faced each other, and the pupil power was released toward each other in no particular order. After the pupil power was released, Kenji Jamanin felt a stinging pain in his eyes, and felt tired for a moment, so he quickly backed away. Panting and looking at the opposite Ruri, the other party's Sharingan level is still 2 Tomo, although the other party is also panting, but the panting range is much smaller than myself. The most important thing is that the other party is only 10 years old, and she is still in the state of 2 Tomo Sharingan, so he is not afraid to compete head-on with his own 3 Tomo Sharingan for pupil power. In the end, he was not successfully controlled by illusion, which is simply unimaginable. Speed, nerve response, dynamic vision, strength, use of ninjutsu, pupil power, etc., combined, even he, a Junin, finds it extremely difficult. His only winning rate is that the amount of chakra exceeds that of Ruri. As long as Ruri's chakra is exhausted, he will win. Kenji sighed slightly, he always felt that he wouldn't win by using this method against a little girl. But being defeated by the opponent will be even more embarrassing. So, the next step is to continue the battle, slowly depleting the chakra in Ruri's body. Ruri also seemed to see through the plan of Uchiha Kenji, and she immediately took out Shiraishi's special military food pill from the ninja bag, and when she was about to take it, Elder Uchiha Tenjin, who had been watching the battle, shouted, "Okay, stop, Ruri." Ruri put the special military food pill back into the ninja bag, and made a seal of reconciliation on Kenji. Kenji also made a seal of reconciliation to Ruri. "It's really amazing, Ruri, I'm afraid even an ordinary Junin is no match for your current strength." After finishing the seal of reconciliation, Kenji came up and praised Ruri without hesitation. It is very gratifying for such a powerful and outstanding genius to appear in the clan. It is worthy of being the genius of their Uchiha clan. Ruri nodded. The fact that she has this strength at this moment is inseparable from her own hard work and talent, but Beishi's contribution cannot be ignored. If he hadn't developed the new medicine that can improve physical ability with natural energy, he wouldn't have grown so fast. Thinking of this, there was a soft color in the indifferent eyes, and a faint smile appeared on the corner of the mouth. In the eyes of Kenji, the smile on the other party's face was due to the sincere praise of him, a fellow Junin. Elder Tenjin walked into the arena at this time. In his 60s, he is already an old ninja. Even if he retires, he will burn his last blood for the family and cultivate a Uchiha ninja who can earn the Hokage position from the Senju clan. Elder Tenjin. Ruri bowed slightly, because the other party had taught him a lesson in the past. Ruri, who has already made her own path clear, no longer needs the teachings of the Tenjin elders, but she still has respect and gratitude for this old man who has worked hard for the family. Ruri, when you are practicing hard, don't forget to relax. You must relax in your practice. In the eyes of Elder Tenjin, Ruri must have spent all his time cultivating in such a quick draw with Kenji. So he hoped that Ruri could relax properly while practicing, and he didn't want Ruri, a genius, to squeeze out her potential prematurely. The emphasis on Ruri should be higher than that of another Uchiha heir, Uchiha Fugaku. If there is anyone in Uchiha who can reproduce the glory of Mangekyo Sharingan, he thinks that this person must be Ruri. I understand. Elder Tenjin, if there is nothing else, I will go back first. Wait a minute, this is the scroll that records the B-level fire release technique. Take it back and study it. With your strength, you can already learn high-level fire release technique. This is left by that person. Uchiha Tenjin said meaningfully. Ruri was startled. That person refers to Uchiha Madara, the ancestor of the Uchiha clan. The ninja who has betrayed his family and village. In today's Uchiha family, very few people would call Uchiha Madara by his name directly. When talking about him, they would use that person as a pronoun. Ruri took the fire release scroll given by Elder Tenjin, thanked him again, and hurried back to her home. Ruri is getting stronger and stronger. 2 years ago, I could easily tease her. The pupil power of the 2 Tomo Sharingan even made my 3 Tomo U Sharingan feel the pressure. It's incredible. What method did you use to make her so strong? After Ruri left, Kenji couldn't help but praise Elder Tenjin's education level. Elder Tenjin shook his head and said with a smile, "Kenji, don't you understand yet? The pupil power of Sharingan varies from person to person, and the number of Tomo can only be used as a lower limit reference, but it cannot be the only criterion for measuring the strength of pupil strength. Besides, this is obtained by Ruri himself, and my role is just icing on the cake." Kenji sighed. Why didn't he understand this? Just thinking of a 10-year-old girl who can completely surpass herself in a few years makes her feel uncomfortable. I was young and had a good time, and I was called a genius ninja by Uchiha. Kenji, you are also an elite Junin cultivated by your family, so have a little more confidence in yourself. Elder, it's not that I don't have confidence in myself, but that young people nowadays are too capable of hitting people. But I really want to know, when Ruri graduates, which will lead her team, and how will the 3rd Hokage be arranged? Kenji didn't believe that there would be no backup data of Ruri, a Uchiha genius, in 3rd Hokage, so Kenji was very interested in what kind of leader Jonin would be arranged by 3rd Hokage for Ruri. If the strength is low, it is very likely that Ruri will not agree and Jonin will become a laughing stock. As far as Kenji knows, the powerful Jonin is not even a little bit interesting even if he is a Sanin. Tsukumo Hitaki. Elder Tenjin spit out this name. Kenji trembled, cold sweat dripped from his face, he looked at Elder Tenjin in disbelief. It seems that this name has a very terrifying magic power, even an experienced Jonin like Kenji, his eyes are full of awe. Hey, Elder, are you kidding me? That man is. Only in this way can the 3rd Hokage and I feel at ease with each other. 3 Hokage need Uchiha to dedicate combat power in this war. And Uchiha needs a strong ninja to become lead Jonin for Ruri, this is the only way to convince Ruri. Elder Tenjin expressed exactly this kind of meaning. If you like this video please like, comment, share and most importantly subscribe, also click on notification bell and set it on all.